"She forged our signatures and stole the only home we owned," my father shouted. My mother cried while half our church watched. I had no attorney beside me, only a battered folder and a court advisor I had met. Dad pointed at me. "She's always been quiet because quiet people hide things." He looked certain the judge would order me out by sunset. He did not know the bank manager was waiting outside. 2 years earlier, Victor and Marlene Hayes were 6 months behind on their mortgage. Dad's roofing business had collapsed after an injury, and Mom refused to sell because the house had belonged to her aunt. I worked as a billing clerk. When Mom called, she sobbed until I offered help. I drained my savings, paid the arrears, and covered their taxes. Then Dad missed another payment. The lender sent a foreclosure notice, and my parents admitted Dad had taken a second loan without telling Mom. The bank proposed a hardship sale. I could purchase the house, assume a new mortgage, and let my parents remain under an occupancy agreement. I hesitated. Dad had spent my childhood calling my brother Travis the one with backbone, while I became the daughter who fixed problems quietly. Still, I signed. The closing took 3 hours. My parents signed the deed before Naomi Whitaker, the branch manager and notary. Naomi reviewed every page aloud. The agreement gave them 18 rent-free months, then required a payment. I kept every document. For a year, nothing changed. I paid the mortgage and replaced the furnace. I never reminded them the house was legally mine. Then Travis returned from Arizona after his restaurant failed. Within a week, Mom asked me to transfer the property back so he could use it as collateral. I said no. Dad's voice hardened. "After everything we gave you?" What they had given me was a room, food, and years of being told gratitude meant obedience. I offered to help Travis find work. He called me a clerk, pretending to matter. A month later, my parents stopped making payments. Then their attorney accused me of elder financial abuse, fraud, and theft. Their signed statement claimed they believed the closing papers were only refinancing documents. The accusation spread faster than the truth. Mom told relatives I had tricked them while Dad was medicated. Travis posted that I had stolen their future. At church, people stopped meeting my eyes. One evening, I watched Mom water the hydrangeas I had planted for her birthday. I cried because proving ownership would not restore what I had lost. They did not misunderstand me. They had decided my love was something they could rewrite. So I stopped pleading. I requested the closing file, payment history, security logs, and appointment notes. One detail bothered me. Dad claimed painkillers had impaired him during the signing, yet the notes mentioned him disputing the coffee, joking about Travis, and correcting his middle name. Someone had remembered that afternoon clearly. Back in court, their attorney displayed enlarged copies of the deed. Dad admitted the signature resembled his, but insisted I had slipped it beneath other papers. Mom testified that I rushed them and refused to let them read. Their attorney faced me. "You benefited from their confusion, correct?" "I prevented foreclosure," I said, "by taking their house." For several minutes, it seemed enough. Then my advisor called Naomi Whitaker. Naomi entered, carrying the closing ledger. She testified that my parents had arrived early, requested separate explanations, and signed acknowledgments confirming the sale. Her notes showed Victor asking whether he could repaint the garage, and Marlene asking whether the agreement protected her garden. Those questions only made sense if they understood ownership had changed. Dad claimed Naomi was protecting the bank. Then she revealed the second record. Because the transaction involved a distressed property, bank policy required a recorded consent interview. The video showed my parents alone with Naomi while I waited outside. Dad stated the sale price, mortgage amount, and my name as buyer. Mom said, "At least it stays in the family." Both denied being pressured. Travis stood and tried to leave. Their attorney requested a recess. The judge refused. Under questioning, Mom admitted Travis had promised to repay them after borrowing against the property. Dad blamed Mom blamed Travis. Their story collapsed into the plan they had hidden: erase my ownership, mortgage the house, and fund my brother again. The judge dismissed their claim, ordered them to pay my costs, and referred their sworn statements for review. Their occupancy agreement was terminated for non-payment and fraud. I gave them 60 days to leave. Dad called me heartless. I answered, "You made my love evidence against me." 6 months later, I sold the house to a young family and used the equity for a modest home with a sunlit kitchen. My parents rented near Travis, whose business never opened. We speak rarely. I still miss who I believed they were. But truth returned more than a house. It returned the part of me that no longer needed permission to expect fairness.